I'm Ilse de Villiers, and I am a wildlife acrylic artist.
Hello, I'm Chris Stafford, and this is Art, the podcast where we get up close and personal as we get to know women from around the world of visual arts. This is Season 2, Episode 39. My guest this week is the South African wildlife acrylic artist Ilse de Villiers. Ilse works in detailed realism of her subjects, which portray the dramatic wildlife of Africa in its natural habitat, drawing mainly from photographic reference. Ilse says, although she was always considered relatively talented, she was not encouraged to pursue art, so making it her career was never in her wildest dreams. Ilse was born in Durban in 1965, one of two daughters to Father Frick Klenhans, who was an education inspector, and her mother Julie Klenhans, who was a secretary, also a talented batik artist, horticulturist and watercolourist. As an outdoor child, Ilse was always an animal lover with a wandering mind. She describes herself as a neat and organised person who preferred pencils to paint as a child. Ilse graduated with a bachelor's degree and a diploma in higher education at Bloemfontein University before teaching at a high school. In 1987, she married her college boyfriend, Abraham de Villiers, and the couple eventually moved to his family's farm in Middelburg, Bethel, where they raised a family whilst Ilse became a farm girl, cooking, sewing, baking and gardening. The tragic loss of their eldest son, Abraham Jr., in 1996 in a farm accident would prove a pivotal point in Ilse's life when some months later a friend encouraged her to start painting, which turned out to be the therapy she needed. She says she found a creative expression, and that became the beginning of her life story as an artist. Ilse and her husband live in Tzaneen in the Limpopo province of South Africa. They have a son, Herman, and daughter, Gilles. Ilse annually shows her artwork at 2 shows and in galleries across the US. Ilse, welcome. Thank you for joining me on the podcast this week.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I'm actually really just so thrilled to be on your podcast. I'm very honored and privileged. Thank you.
Well, I know you've got some exciting stories to tell us because we're going to start actually with what you've just been doing, because you went off having a great deal of fun in Kenya at the Masai Mara, and you just got back from that. Have you recovered yet?
We have recovered. I think I had 10 hours sleep last night. I just went to bed so early, but I knew we wouldn't come back rested, but I knew we would come back with full hearts and with faces smiling broadly. So yes, what an experience and what an amazing opportunity for us to go and experience this. This is the second time we've been for the Masai Mara wild beast migration, this specific time of year. So, and it was an amazing tented camp. So, wow, yes, I know it's on many people's bucket list, and we have been very fortunate.
It certainly is. You know, we hear constantly stories of Kenyan wildlife and those parties, there's tours and the marvelous sights that you must see, but also what you hear at night. And you told me off air that, you know, how it was to live in a tent and hear these sounds outside your tent overnight of the wildlife. But when you said this is the second time you've been, Ilse, did you manage to see the wildebeest, the migration, the first time you were there?
Yes, we were. And it's actually only this time that I realized how extremely fortunate we were in 2016. We went with the same safari outfitter, and we really indeed did have the wildebeest around camp, and the constant sound that they make. I won't try and imitate it. I'll probably mess up your recording, but it's just this constant sound, and then the milling about. And yes, we did see crossings, and it's just extraordinary. It's a wildlife phenomena, and it was right there. And this time when we were there, the wildebeest weren't as far north yet. So if you take into consideration that they move north, or the whole migration starts or happens between June, July, and September, they can be in your area anytime. So you just take a big chance choosing your slot or which week you're going to go. And then the rest of it is whatever is in your lucky packet for that week. So this time we had to travel south to Tanzania, did see the herds spread all over the hills. It looks like ants, just as far as your eye can see, but they were still grazing. There was some grass burnt on the Tanzania side, so they had lovely green sprouts that was keeping them there a little bit longer than usually. So they will slowly meander north as the water resources in Tanzania diminish.
And the zebra, they precede them in the migration.
Yes, and that is such an amazing...
What a sight.
Yes, and it's so beautiful. We saw herds and herds of these zebra, and it's stunning. I mean, I think if you look on my social media post, there's one photo where we've got the wildebeest in the backdrop, and then there's three giraffe, in front of them looking at us in the vehicle, and then there's a little few zebras in front of them. It's just such a beautiful compilation of animals. And so the giraffe is also everywhere in between, but they don't migrate with the wildebeest. It's just the zebra that kind of, go along. And well, I would say, I don't know, I'm making a terrible mistake, but I would say the zebra is about 1/10 of the magnitude of the wildebeest. But yes, they are beautiful together.
Well, these are magnificent images, of course, which would be tremendous inspiration for you in your wildlife art, Ilse. And we could have a whole conversation, a whole podcast on that safari that you did, right?
Oh, yeah.
Talking about the animals that you saw. But you have inspiration also in your backyard, don't you, in South Africa? Just set the scene for us where you're living now and the kind of outdoor life that you're exposed to now, and the animals too that might be closer to home.
Okay, we live in Limpopo, which is the most northern province of South Africa. So if you know Limpopo or know South Africa, then you will know that this is prime bushveld country. So we are, let's say, more or less, let's say middle to right, a little bit east. So if you know where the Kruger National Park is, we're around an hour from our closest Kruger Park gate. So Abram and I, for that matter, can easily go in on a Saturday, and lots of people in our area will go into the Kruger National Park for a weekend. So it's a very doable weekend getaway. It's actually closer than going to Pretoria. So, and then we've got game farms all around us. So we really have the wildlife very close by, and I don't think I'll get my husband out of area with sticks ever when we get to retire. He'll always want to be in the bushveld just because he loves the bushveld and the animals so much. So I'll have to keep him here in the bush.
Well, this is Abraham, of course, your husband, who's also a photographer. I've seen some of the pictures that he posts, and he's a sharpshooter.
He is very good, I must say. And the amazing thing, Chris, is that this was something that kind of progressed later in our marriage. And let's start this way. I wasn't painting when we got married, and he wasn't photographing when we got married. He always liked photography, and I was always a little bit arty or artistic, one would say, but I mean, that's not what I studied at all. I'm sure we'll get to that later. But I started painting around late in the 1990s, closer to 2000. And okay. And then I used reference photos from other wildlife photographers. And somebody advised us, if you can use your own reference photos, there's so much more of a story to each painting. So we actually borrowed a lens from a friend and went into the Kruger early 2000, and Abram started to take some pictures, which wasn't difficult for him to do because he loves, as I said, loves the bush and just naturally inclined to good photography. He's got such amazing patience. That's not me. So he's a perfect photographer. And yes, the images just grew with us, and I really use a lot of his images in my work these days. I would say 75% of the references that I use would be from his photos.
Of course, the attention to detail is critical when you're painting animals as well, and you manage to capture that. You must have tremendous patience.
I don't think I have that much patience. I'm just extremely driven. I love the idea when I start, but apparently this is a common artist thing. There's a whole little thing that you say when you start your painting. You're like, oh, this is fantastic. And then in the middle, it's crappy. And by 70% in, it's like, maybe this has potential. And then you just go for the goal. So, I push through very hard, and I am, as I say, I'm a hard worker, if I may say so. I really struggle to switch off. And because I raised kids and toddlers when I started, and, and my kids grew and they went to high school and out of the house, and now I'm a grandparent. But so I have the wonderful opportunity to be alone in my house, which I didn't have previous years while I had kids at school and had to do the mom run and help with projects and all of that. I was a very involved mom. Poor kids. But anyway, that's a blessing or curse, depending who you're asking. And yes, so now I do enjoy the wonderful luxury of my own time and really, really focusing and getting into a painting and working it until it's done.
Did any of your children, or now indeed your grandchild, or is your grandchild too young to be starting with art, but did your children pick up your art and your love of art?
Both our children are very artistic in different ways. Our daughter, Julisa, she's now the young mom. She was always creative on stage and with dancing and with recordings and stuff. She's just a natural. My jaw hangs open. I get total stage fright should I be on a stage, but she's very creative that way. So she did it all. Let's say her artistic talents came out there. My son, he did a degree in in gaming design. So he always drew very well. He just had an amazing eye all along. So, but being an artist, that's maybe bad, I'm not sure. I never pushed him to become a full-time artist. I think as an artist, exhibiting with so many other artists and women being the minority, it was usually more men. I just saw the struggle to sell, because I always had the wonderful blessing of a stable income from my husband. So he was really the breadwinner. And if I sold paintings, then it was an add-on. It was for special things or for holidays or for treats or for whatever the case may be. But we didn't need me to sell to keep food on the table, if you can understand what I'm saying. So from a man's perspective, I never envied the men, So, yeah.
So let's go back to early life for you, Ilse. You were born in Durban in 1965, and I'm wondering what kind of environment you grew up with then, because you always seem to be drawn to the outdoors. Would you be considered an outdoor child?
Oh, yes. I think we were very outdoorsy. I was absolutely a city girl, not from like my husband grew up on a farm. So, but very outdoorsy. We grew up in a educational environment. What I mean by that is that my dad was in, education all his life. So he was, by the time I could understand what was going on, he was a vice principal. Then he was the one just above that. I'm not sure what you say, what you call that in English. And then he was a principal. And later in life, he was an inspector of education. My mom, she was a secretary with the College for Further Education. And my aunt and uncle I basically had two pairs of parents because we were together every weekend and every school holiday, because with everybody being in education, we all had school holidays. So my uncle was in also a college in Durban, and my aunt also a teacher at a school. So I grew up with these most amazing holidays, either out in the Drakensberg, because we all lived in Natal. I was born in Durban, but then we moved to Maritzburg, and my uncle and aunt stayed in Durban. So we migrated between Durban and Maritzburg the whole time. So we were either in the mountains, Drakensberg, or we were at the coast. We always got a beach house from the church or somewhere, or from the education department. One could rent those days, and our kids will be everywhere on the breakers and on the sand and swimming and collecting starfish, and call it what you want. But yeah, that was our life.
Well, were you a child that always had pets, and were you drawn to animals as a child?
Oh, yes, we loved pets. My sister does too. So yeah, that's everything from, I actually had a baby duck bath with me. My mom got me a little duckling that bathed with me. I had a tortoise at one stage. We had a cat that didn't last long after it was swinging on my mom's curtains. But yes, we always had dogs and stuff, and we very much pet orientated. We always had dogs in the house and grew up with dogs. So my sister and I, and now my daughter, is dog mad. We love our dogs.
How about horses, though? Did you ride?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Every girl likes horses. So that was my other thing, was riding. I loved riding, but obviously I was in the city, so you had to be taken to stables. So I had riding lessons, and you went to go on out rides and all of that. And my daughter got the same love for horses. So her dream before she met her wonderful husband was to marry a horse farmer. So that was her teenage dream. That was just sounded like heaven to her. But yes, horses definitely.
What were you drawn to at school? Were you a good scholar?
I was a good scholar, I think. I was very dedicated. I won't say I was necessarily a academic whiz. I went to school very early. I turned 5 in my grade 1 year. So I was 5 and half of my grade 1 year, and half of my grade 1 year I was 6. So when I matriculated, I only turned 17 half of the year, which meant I went to university as a 17-year-old. So I would say academically, I didn't struggle as much to keep up, but emotionally, it was challenging. I wasn't withdrawn. I was very ahead. That's why my mom sent me to school at 5, just to kind of have some peace at home. But I was very sensitive. So the emotional challenges of peer groups and then becoming a teenager and all the pressure and stuff like that, that kind of, was difficult for me.
What subjects were of interest to you?
Oh, biology. I loved biology. I had this amazing dream to become a biology teacher, but now I'm not sure if it was the biology and whether it was the fact that I could do all the sketches so well. I met up with an old school friend from like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, oh my soul, and she still remembered my biology books because my sketches were so amazing. And I think that's why I loved biology so much, just because doing the sketches made it easy for me to learn the subject or the context of the subject. That, and I would say languages. I love languages.
So with your parents, well, a whole family being in education and you became a teacher yourself, was it a very strict, disciplined upbringing for you then? And then the second question would be then, would it be inevitable that you too became a teacher?
Yes, I think so. Not as much strict. We were 2 daughters, and my dad was a very, very good principal in his day. He was strict. He was very, but not rigid. He was an excellent principal in his day. Gosh, the school just went to amazing heights. He was very organized. He had amazing principles and stuff like that. But he was a girl dad, so he was amazing with us girls. But yes, he was, it was his, I won't say he was under the pressure. It was his wish that I become a teacher because according to him, that was the most stable career that he could give me. I would, doesn't matter where in the country my husband would go, I would always have a job, which is true. You can't fault that belief per se. And I mean, becoming an artist was not even something that was ever discussed. It was in our Afrikaans culture, maybe if we were English and a little bit more or a little bit less conservative, I would say, that might be something that my parents considered. But remember, this was back in 1980. So you wouldn't in any way, what I'm looking for the right word, but try and get your child into something as unstable as becoming an artist. And also my school didn't have art as a senior subject, so I could only have art up until grade 9. It wasn't a choice subject for I couldn't choose it as a major. So obviously I couldn't go on with it. And no, it's not something my dad would ever consider helping me to become.
Now, I know you're very spiritual, Ilse, so I'm wondering, given your Afrikaans background, how your political and religious influences were shaped as a child.
Well, we grew up very moderate. There wasn't extremities in any way, but I mean, in a typical Afrikaans household, you are raised as a Christian. So we went to church Sundays, and my aunt and uncle that I mentioned before, they were of German origin. My aunt, my dad's sister, married a German, and they are also very religious, the Germans, a little bit different from us, but the basic principles and the way of doing life is the same. And then but I mean, basically, as you become an adult, you have to make these choices for yourself. I mean, no parent can drag a child into heaven. At some stage, you as an adult have to make your own choices. And yes, we are Christians. I am very spiritual, if you might call that, but I can't see how I can do life any different. So I do believe I was blessed with a talent, and but I mean, it's only the Lord that really helps me hone my talent and do it every day, and really just shine His light with it, if I can put it as bluntly as that.
So you began your adult life having graduated with a BA degree and diploma in higher education. So you went into teaching, but it was quite a pivotal time and a major milestone in your life, Ilse, where you actually developed your artistic career, and it was a tragedy that invoked that. Do you want to talk about how you arrived as a young adult with being a parent? You had 3 children.
Yes.
Do you want to talk us through that and how that shaped you?
Okay. Stop me if I get off course, please. Yes, well, I taught for a very, very short time, about 2 years, and then Abram's dad called him back to the farm to come and help with the farming. Abram has 4 brothers, or they are 4 brothers, and it's only Abram, the second eldest, and then the youngest that was always inclined to the agricultural side of that went back to farming, if I can put it that way. The other sons became engineers. So yes, when Dad called us back to the farm, it wasn't where we were teaching, where I was teaching at that stage. We were in the Free State and they were farming in Mpumalanga. So we left and we went to the farm, and Dad said, or father-in-law said, you know what, you are anyway going to start with a family. Don't bother teaching again, because obviously the farms are far out of town. So it's in and out every day. And he just didn't see the sense of me driving in and out every day. So my teaching career was very short. And so then I did everything that a farm girl does, I suppose. I was sewing and I was gardening and I was cooking and I was baking. As long as it looked like it was creative, I was on it. I could not sit still. Sitting still is not one of my very good assets. So yes, and then we were very fortunate. I fell pregnant with our first little boy. His name was little Abram, which is my husband's name is Abram. So he was our firstborn in May of 91. And then shortly after that, I fell pregnant again, and we had our little girl, Jaleesa, in July of 92. And then we had 3.5 years in between, and then we had our third child, which was also a boy, and he was Herman. I always had this, well, we were 2 girls growing up, and I never wanted only 2 children. I really frantically wanted 3. So that was my thing. But anyway, so we had the 3, and life was beautiful and life was wonderful and life was busy. And still I was gardening and doing sewing and cooking and baking, to my heart's desire. And then, yes, the 26th of August, 1996, there was a very, very tragic accident on our farm, and our eldest, he was 5 years and 3 months at that time, he passed away instantly. So there wasn't a sickness and there wasn't a recovery time, or it was instant. So that I can't even try and explain the trauma. It's like your life stops. The life that you knew stops at that moment. And after that, you basically pick up the fragments and you build a whole new life. it's you, but it's not you. So as I mentioned before, the fact that our marriage survived it is nothing less than a miracle, because I know of many couples that lose themselves amidst this kind of pain. So yes, 6 months afterwards, I was trying to get my head around my little girl. She was 4 and she actually saw the accident happen. So I was trying to get my head around having her and my little son, because I always had the eldest two were always like, I call them David and Jonathan, if you will excuse my expression, but it's like the Bible of David and Jonathan. So they were just like inseparable. I mean, since the time she opened her eyes, he was there. And those two were the best of friends ever. I mean, I can't remember. I think I have, not all my memories are maybe intact, but I can for the life of me not remember that those two children ever fought. They were the best of friends. But anyway, so yeah, she just wanted to get this little brother of hers to grow up and become her friend. So anyway, after 6 months, a friend on a nearby farm invited me. Her little girl was the same age as our Julisa, so she invited me over for an afternoon just to get out of the house. And she had this arts and crafts thing going, was all the rage at that stage, with the we called it lapverf in Afrikaans, which is basically fabric paint. So you had this unbleached linen, and you had these funny birds and fruits and stuff that you drew on that. And then you painted it with fabric paint. It was actually acrylic, and you ironed it, and you could make cushion covers and table mats and can call it what you will. So, and that grabbed me. I don't know why. And as I've mentioned before, I don't even like paint as a medium. I'm a very neat person, very organized, and paint to me was a bit of a messy thing. I was never drawn to paint as a child or as a young girl. I always liked pencil work and stuff like that. So yes, I painted funny birds and fruit and stuff like that. A year after our son passed, exactly, I want to say a day, the whole farm moved to KwaZulu-Natal. So that was my father-in-law and my mom-in-law, me and my husband and our 2 children, and then the younger brother and his wife. We all moved to KwaZulu-Natal. There was a wonderful farm that became available there. It was a wildlife farm / maize farm under pivots, and my husband and his family were maize farmers. So we moved there, and that was prime bushveld country. So my husband was very excited. We befriended some game rangers in the Itala Game Reserve. That was just kind of on the other side of the mountain from where our farm was. And lo and behold, one of the guys one day said, "Oh, I hear you paint." I said, "Yes, I paint." And he said, "Could you please do a lion for me?" And I said, "No, I don't do animals. I do flowers and funny birds and fruit and stuff." And he said, "Please, can you just do a line for me?" And my husband was like elbowing me, please, just try. And I was very upset about this stupid line that I now had to try and do. But I did. I tried. And well, it came out quite well. I was quite surprised, and my husband was as chuffed as you could ever imagine. So he said, "Well, just try something else, try a buffalo." So I tried the buffalo. It looked okay. So, he said, "Well, try something else." And I tried, I don't know, yellow-billed hornbill or something like that. And that was the beginning of my life as a wildlife artist. So my famous words is always, wildlife chose me. I didn't choose it. So that's my story.
It's a wonderful story, you know, that it grew so organically, and you've become the artist that you have. As you say, you're wedded to wildlife, and I think you said it wasn't in your wildest dreams for you ever. It wasn't on your bingo cards, as they say, for you to become an artist when you were much younger. So I'm wondering what kind of art you might have been exposed to in an educational setting, Ilse, when you were young. Did your parents take you to museums and galleries?
No, not really. But I would say always realistic. I was never expressionistic in what I did. It always had to look exactly like what I was seeing. So I think me being a perfectionist at heart, it was never, I wouldn't say slapdash, but I could never get the loose thing going. It always had to look exactly like what I was seeing in real life. So whether it was a still life or whatever. My mom is very, very artistic in that way. She was never a paint artist, although she does not wildlife, she does watercolors now as an 83-year-old. Can you believe it? She's vibrant and she's wonderful. But me and my sister grew up playing under her table where she was doing these huge batik works. I don't even know how to pronounce it. You know, those big, it's like big, colorful pieces of art that you put your one color on and then you cover it with wax or with candle wax, and then you crunch it up and you dip it in the next pot of dye. And then it's a whole thing. I will send you some pictures. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's batik, Batik or CK, depending on which language you spell it in. And she was always, well, not head of her flower department, but she was always in a flower arranging club, and she was gardening and she was pottering and all of that. And we were always doing arts and crafts. I know one Christmas, all the children had to make gifts for everybody else. So we were always making stuff. She was always sewing. So I grew up in a very artistic house as far as that's concerned. My sister does the most amazing watercolors, but doesn't promote herself. So yes, we are artistic, I must say. We have these artistic genes, and we've got all these sensitive souls and all these animal lovers and all of that you would maybe connect with artistic lives.
Yes, and your mother, as you say, she's still living. She's 83, but your father passed away in 2010. What kind of impact did that have on you? Because you said he was very much a girly's dad.
He was a very girly dad. He was an extreme gentleman. He wasn't a playful, fall on the grass, let's do that kind of thing, dad, but he was a very deep thinker. So he never shied away from us sharing our inner souls, those deep conversations that usually only women get into. He would listen to you and he would really understand. He was a very deep man and he was very intellectual. He really introduced us to the finer things in life. He loved to go out to dinner, and obviously with us living in Maritzburg or Durban prior to that, and then Maritzburg, we could go to amazing restaurants. So he loved fine dining, and we were taught, exactly how that works and what's expected of you. And we were taken to concerts and musicals and pantomimes and all of that as smaller children, the whole five of us. I will never forget, you're not allowed to, take anything to eat or drink into the theater, but us being five and the whole group of us having teachers and stuff as parents, we were taken to all these wonderful concerts, but there wasn't money for all that fancy cool drinks and nutties and things that were there in the foyer. So My aunt always took a huge handbag, and all the sweeties and stuff and were hidden in that handbag. So as soon as the lights went out, all the sweeties and stuff were passed down the row, and we were munching away, but we never got those expensive stuff that they sold in the front. But we did get to see all the wonderful pantomimes and musicals and all of that.
So what were you listening to and watching then? What were some of those early recollections?
Oh my goodness. I can't now remember. I would want to say Mary Poppins and, oh gosh, nothing else can pop into my mind. I have to ask my mom about that.
Sound of Music?
Yes, all of those. The big English musicals and anything. I can't remember any of the others. I just remember sitting in the theater so vividly and the sweeties coming down the row. Anyway.
Let's talk about your musical choices, and because you've sent me your playlist, which is really fun. You've got a whole range of quite a diverse interests there, Ilse, depending on your moment, the moment and your mood, we might say. But
yes,
what were your childhood influences? Did your parents encourage you to play an instrument as well? Did you learn?
No, not really as much. There was always music in the house, but there was always the radio going. I must say most of my music choices, as I've sent it through to you, is from my husband. They are actually quite musical, but I don't know if you'll even understand the word I'm going to say. But in the Afrikaans culture, we call it boeremusiek, which is, I would say, I don't know, in the American culture, it will be real honky-tonky country, but now this is the Afrikaans version of that. I'll send you a clip of boeremusiek, but never mind that. As a student, when we met, I think he basically swept me off my feet just with his music knowledge. No, and I'm not talking about boeremusiek because that would not have impressed me at all. It was very farm, but his amazing knowledge of music, he was just like a music fundi. So all the 80s hits that I've listed there is part of our courting time at university. He had, and lo and behold, just listen what I was impressed with. He had, remember these cassette tapes that you got in the 80s? I don't know when that went out of fashion. He had 2 cases of them, Chris, 2 cases. And he knew the artists by name and he knew the lyrics. And I was in awe of this man that knew all this music and had such good music taste. So yes, I think I associate all our 80s hits with the time that we fell in love and the time that we were students and all of that. So yeah, that was a wonderful time.
Was dancing something you used to do as a teenager?
Oh, my soul, my friend, you have no idea. We danced the night away. Oh my gosh, we danced. We love to dance. Well, growing up in Natal, that was different than going to university. In university, we did socky. I don't know. Socky is a difficult thing for to explain to anyone that's not from our country, but it's kind of like a long arm dancing together. And my husband and I was good. We danced. That was something that happened on the varsity grounds every Wednesday, every Friday, and every Saturday evening. Chris, we were as fit and slim as could be. We danced like pros. We loved it. And obviously the music was attached. So that was such a huge part of our university lives. It was dancing. Yes.
How about now?
Oh, we love to dance still, and we still dance quite well together. So if we get the odd opportunity on a wedding or something like that, we will enjoy it.
Where does literature fit into your life? Are you a keen reader, Ilse?
I am a keen reader, but with the paintings taking such a lot of my time, I'm very naughty when I get a book, because then I will quickly read a chapter, just one chapter. It's like opening that box of chocolates, just one, and then it'll steal painting time. So somebody introduced me to audiobooks. Thank you. That was just the best thing that ever happened in my life. So I listen to books. I listen to audiobooks, so I get the best of two worlds. I can listen to intriguing books and paint, and I don't do that the whole time while I paint. I only listen to my audiobook at a certain stage of my painting, not when I'm planning my painting, not when I'm doing my composition, and not when I'm basically getting started. Then I really have to focus and concentrate. But in the middle of a painting, there's a lot of layers that go on, and then we go back to muscle memory. So that's the time that I get my audiobook going, and it just keeps me in front of the easel much longer. I have a very wandering mind, and so I get reminded of all sorts of things that I really don't need to do now, but feel like I need to do. So when I've got an audiobook on, it really keeps me focused in front of the painting, and then I will not listen at the end. When I'm finishing off, I would say the last 3 days of a painting, 2 days, I won't listen. Then I'll just have music on, either the radio or a playlist or anything, so that I can focus again to bring everything together.
Is that hard for you then, the sustained attention time?
Yes, it is a little bit hard, but also the what would you call it? The goal is in sight, the podium is in sight, the medal is in sight, call it what you will. So then I do make myself focus and really just get those, just make it happen, just make it pop. It's a wonderful time actually finishing a painting. I always say there's no bigger high than finishing an art piece. To me, it's just like, oh my goodness, it's the highest high. It's the most, it's like giving birth to something. It's wonderful. It's painful. It's fantastic. And then you want to do it all over again.
So is that your moment of ultimate satisfaction and validation when you have completed it? It's in your studio. No one else has seen it.
Yes.
So it's not in the gallery when an audience is looking at it for the first time.
No, it's me. It's me when I've finished it and I stand back and I realize I think this is it. And then I can't wait for my husband to get home, because he is my best critique. He's very diplomatic, thank goodness. So he's very diplomatic. So I will call him in as I progress every now and again. I will sometimes say when he comes into the house, don't look, because I'm at a stage where I know I'm pushing through, but it's not where I need any input yet. Or when I'm stuck, I'll say, please just come and look for me. I'm stuck. I don't know. I think I'm going the right way, but I'm not sure. Just because he's not emotionally involved with the art piece, that helps. And because I work realistically, and it's 9 out of 10 times his photo, he is very, very good with the what would you call it, the anatomy of the animal and the setting and the bush and everything. He's really, really good with that. So he will give me very sound advice. And usually when I think I'm done, really done, and then I'll call him in, but I'll be hopping up and down because I hope he says I'm done. I hope he sees what I see. So yeah, that's usually a great moment for us both.
How about your children? Do they critique your work?
Julie's not as much. She will, when she comes in, I'll say, oh, go and look, I think the leopard's finished. My son, yes, definitely. He is not always close by. They live in Pretoria, but I will often send him a picture and say, I think this is finished. What do you think? Or just give me your take on it. He's very good with that. He's got a very good eye. He can sometimes just pinpoint a place that I've been struggling with, or he says, Mom, I think you need more contrast here, or I think you can maybe bring out this a bit, or I love what you did here. So yes, I actually do rely on him quite often.
I want to go back to the music. When you're in a fun mood, you've got a whole selection of tracks there that you would listen to. Would you be singing in your car when you're on your own?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I will. And then it'll be loud.
Yeah. Would you sing in front of anyone else?
I don't know, probably my family. And if, if I don't mind being told I'm off key or something. But yes, I'm not a good singer at all. It's not that I think I have an amazing voice. I just get very enthusiastic.
Well, talking about enthusiasm, I want to go to the passion part and the pressure, all of the things that come with being a successful artist. There's the commissions, there's demand on your time, there's the scheduling. You know, when the heat is on, the heat is on. How do you enjoy that pressure? How do you handle it?
I wouldn't say I enjoy it, but I do think I thrive a little bit on it. It's really when it gets to crunch time and I work out my weeks and I basically realize how long time I have, and then I go. And it gives me a good excuse, and I say that in inverted commas, to kind of really get focused. And I don't mind getting focused because then I'm closer to finishing some of my artwork or finishing projects, and I do excel in the finishing. And I do well in planning. I love planning. I'm a very organized person, so I do well in planning. I'm not so good with stuff happening that I didn't see coming, which is very maybe such a good thing to say, because life happens inevitably. We can't plan our lives, but I like to know I've got today open. My husband will ask, what's on your schedule today? And I'll say zebra, or leopard, or whatever. And as I say, if I don't have to get into my car, you won't believe it, that even just running to the grocery store will totally throw my day. I inevitably need to stay at home. That to me is the epitome of a good work day, just because work happens when I stay at home. So I don't like the fact that I need to go anywhere. And if I do need to do something, I will get it all done in one morning and then not again need to go in my car for the rest of the week. And I mean, as I say, it's a luxury that I have. I did get in my car 3 times a day for many, many years, doing school runs and everything that I had to do in the afternoons and all of that. I did that 100%. So I do have the wonderful opportunity to be able to say, I'm working today. Can't come and have coffee. Let's schedule it for next week, one day, and I'll make sure I'll do all my town stuff in one day, which will include coffee with a friend. So yes.
Are you an artist that wakes up in the night and thinks of something like a contrast here, a bit of depth there, or whatever on a piece of work that you're in the middle of and has to get up and attend to it? Or can you store it till the morning?
No, I can store it till the morning. I sleep like a baby. No, I will dream about something. I dream when it gets to just before a show or stuff like that, I will inevitably have nightmares about hanging the most atrocious artwork on the walls, or stuff not being finished, or my crate that didn't arrive. So I have that every year. But no, I will go to sleep thinking on something's bothering me in this painting, but it won't wake me up. I will probably get up in the morning and know what the solution is, or just can't wait to get to the studio to work on whatever I'm not happy with. But no, I sleep very well.
Well, you said earlier how you had busy hands when you were living on the farm. Do you have a busy mind now? Do you have to be constantly active during the day, even if you're not working?
Yes, I do. It's a blessing and a curse. My mom begs me to just go and sit in a chair for half an hour and just have a cat nap during the day. But I go at 100 miles an hour while I'm awake, and then I go down like a what would you say in English, like a rock. I don't know I just fall over. And so I don't go slow. I go fast and I go hard. But that's kind of been my motto. When we were much younger, I would say we play hard and we work hard, which is basically what my children do. So it runs in their genes. We do what we do well, and we go for it.
What does relaxation look like for you?
Getting on my lazy boy, stretching out after dinner at night and watching something, a series with my husband, 1 or 2 episodes, and then over a weekend it'll be barbecuing with the kids or with friends, or if we leave home it'll be going to the bush, being around a campfire, anything like that.
And how about sports and fitness and exercise? How do you fit that into your routine?
That we do. I've always been fit and I've always exercised. I figured out quite early in my life that it is let's say it's 2/3 for my head and 1/3 for my actual physical well-being. My emotional well-being is very much reliant on me being active. So it has gone through different stages throughout our lives. Living on the farm for so many years, I would get up early and go and walk, try and get some exercise, or I would do those terrible tapes in front of the TV, or I would have one of these funny, not running stuff, but something like a walker thing that you do, so much time on. As long as the music was blaring, I would go. So I quickly want to tell you something interesting. Something about when we were living on the game farm.
Yes, please.
Okay, we were living on this game farm. I remember I told you we moved there a year after our eldest son passed. So this was a wonderful game farm. It was very rugged, very rough. It was against a mountain. The 3 houses were against a mountain, and then there was this winding path all the way to the main gate, and then all the way down would be the workshops and the offices down there. And then obviously you could look down and see all the maize under the pivots. So at one stage I wanted to, get some exercise. And the only way I could get exercise done, I wanted to walk. I wanted to really walk, was 5 o'clock in the morning. So I would ask my husband if he would be so kind and just, before he went to work at 6 or 6:30, would he just be okay, just hanging around, the house. The kids were still asleep. I want to go walking. And he said, yes, that's fine. If I go walking that early in the morning, you just about see, it was getting light, but I had to, have a handgun with me, which wasn't very weird for the days we lived in and being on a game farm and stuff like that. So I had a handgun with me in my belt. So then off Ilse went, sneakers on, and I was walking at a pace, power walking. And I heard this very funny noise. It was like something crying. Now, I know this wasn't very clever, but I thought, oh my gosh, something is getting throttled or is in a snare, or something. I need this, some animal in distress. I need to rescue this poor animal in distress. So it was this crying sound. So I came around the bend. Now I was walking. I was trying to get to the sound. So I came around the bend, and there was a leopard standing in the road broadside as I came around the bend. So obviously it caught something and was strangling it from there. But there was nothing in the road. So it was just in the brush above the road, and it jumped out of onto the road when it heard me. So the leopard and I was looking at each other, both got the fright of our lives, both, turned around and ran, luckily away from each other. So I was running home, leopard, leopard, leopard. I mean, there's a lot of game on that farm. Obviously not lions and elephants and not rhinos, and buffaloes were in camp, but you can't contain a cat. Leopards come and go where they want to. So I leopard all the way home. And then when my husband jumped into the truck to go and look, obviously it was gone. There's no way it would be standing there waiting, but he found the tracks and everything. So yeah, that was, lo and behold, that was my time that I wanted to rescue something. So I was forbidden to walk that road. So I went the other road that I could walk then was down to the office. So it was downhill, and then very steep uphill coming back to our house. So I tried that. Wasn't very nice going down. Well, down was fine, coming up less so. So again, I had heard this noise one of the weeks that I was walking, this noise next to me. And the next moment, and I'm hoping I can remember the English word for it, is it's an Afrikaans, it's a ratel. What are those little animals where they've got this white, as tough as oh my goodness. Now I can interrupt my own story. I can't remember what they're called. But anyway, these two little animals, they're very, very tough. It will come to me just now. They jumped out in front of me. Now, you don't confront them at all. It was a pair. It was a little male and female. So they popped out of the bush and, just looked at me and then followed the road and kind of, disappeared in the bush on the other side. So, yes, I had quite eventful walks. Needless to say, but that's part of doing your stuff on a farm.
Yes, out in the bushveld, that too, on a game farm. That I can imagine there's a lot more stories too, which we would love to hear. You have to write a book sometime.
I have to, but we live in town now, so I'm in as tame surroundings as I've ever been. But yes, we were 30 years on farms with the whole agricultural thing that my husband always did. So we in town now. We live in a lovely estate with a dam nearby, and the closest thing that we have here is hippos and porcupines. So that's the wildlife we have closest to us.
Well, also in the studio too, you are surrounded by your most beautiful art pieces, and I know that you show them extensively around the world. And you mentioned, and you've got a couple of shows coming up in the USA in 2025, beginning of next year. Can you tell us more about those?
Yes. In 2008, I applied for a show in Charleston in South Carolina. And you must understand that at that stage, I've never been out of my country. So folks or friends that go to Charleston annually, they've got a safari farm. So they go and meet up with clients that side. They kind of, prompted me to do that. I had no idea what SEWE was. You call it SEWE, SEWE. So it's the Southeastern Wildlife Exposition. And it's held annually in Charleston in South Carolina. It's a juried show. So I applied in 2007 and I nearly fell off my chair when I was accepted. I mean, that meant I had to go there in 2008. I had no idea. I was clueless how to get my paintings out of the country. We've never flown internationally. It was hysterical. So, but we had a lot of help from friends, and I did get there, and I did have my first exhibit, and I've been exhibiting with SEWE since 2008. So going now, it will basically be my 16th year. No, I missed 2 years, so it's going to be my 16th year. 17th in 2025. I did miss 2 years with COVID, obviously, and I think the year that my dad passed away in 2010. Then in 2016, a client advised me, I'll tell you more about SEWE in a second. A client advised me that I will do very well at Dallas Safari Club in Dallas in Texas. Well, Siwi is a wildlife exposition, and what makes it so unique and absolutely fantastic is that they invite artists from all over the world, wildlife artists, and we are over 50 wildlife artists exhibiting in one ballroom in a very, very beautiful old hotel. So it is amazing. Over 50 for, painting artists, from charcoal to pastels to acrylics to oils, everything wildlife you can possibly imagine, from wolf to bears to tigers to swans, geese, anything that will be outdoors is shown there, and it's incredible quality work. It is fantastic. And then you've got all the sculptors around the outside of the ballroom. So the amount of quality work is astounding. And every year I just realize when I'm there what an incredible platform it is to be able to exhibit on, to just rub shoulders with all these amazing wildlife artists. It is fantastic. So usually I'm one of the few. We've been 3, we've been 2, we've been 4. I've been the only one from South Africa exhibiting there, and people are mesmerized with what you bring with, just because I only paint African wildlife. So that's what I take with. And either people have never been in Africa, or they have been and they're absolutely in love with Africa and its animals. And lots of time I get asked the question whether I've lost my way. They really can't always, there's always somebody that can't comprehend the fact that I have come over from South Africa to come and show my work there. But it's an amazing, amazing show. And then they're basically all over downtown Charleston. They've got wildlife talk shows. They've got the dog sports. The Americans are very big in their dog sports. So I love that about them. So they've got the dogs that do the retrieving of the ducks and the dummies, what do you call those things that they throw in the water that they get trained with? So you've got your safari people exhibiting, you've got arts and crafts. Oh, it's an amazing time to be in Charleston.
It sounds as if life is in a good place for you now. Is there anything missing or left on your wish list?
No, you are quite right, Chris. We are extremely blessed at the moment. It just really feels as though life is in a very, very good place for us. I'm quickly going to just touch on Dallas. Dallas Safari Club is absolutely a safari club. It's what the name says. So, it's for people that want to come to Africa or to Australia or to Canada or to wherever there is hunting to be done. So all of those outfitters will be there. Also people that host photographic safaris, and then a few artists. We're in the minority there, but obviously you've got these thousands of people attending, more men than ladies, although there's fantastic ladies' luncheons and stuff like that. They do a lot of donations for education, wildlife education, teaching children about wildlife and nature. And then, yes, obviously, yes, everything that has to do with hunting and outdoors and cameras and what you can name. But yes, we are in a wonderful, wonderful place at the moment. We've just become grandparents, as I mentioned before, and we are blessed. We are so blessed. I would very much, if you want to ask me if there's something else that I would want out of life, I would very much like to get into more galleries. You have to understand with the gallery door never quite opened wide for me. And I think it's perhaps because I'm in a very niche market. Number one, I am a very realistic artist. So my work is very photorealistic. I inevitably have someone asking me if my work is not a photo. But as I say, once again, it's a blessing or a curse. Either people are attracted to very realistic art or they are not. They like it more impressionistic. I wish I could work more loose. I have incredible praise for people that do it loose and can work loosely. I am called a tight artist. The first time somebody called me a tight artist, I was very offended. But apparently that just means you're a very realistic artist. So I'm not as uptight about it as I was. But yes, I'm very perfectionistic. So it has to look like what I see in nature. As I say, once again, a blessing and a curse.
And I know there's a lot of work for you to be done in the studio. It's a crunch time for you now. You're going to have a very busy next few months. So I better let you get back to the studio. And thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast, Ilse, and share your story.
Thank you for having me, Chris. It's been, as I said, it's been an amazing privilege and an honor. And I do salute you for everything that you do for women artists all over the world. There are so many incredible women out there, and thank you for giving them a voice and giving them a platform. And thank you for making time for me and for the podcast. I do appreciate you.
And if you scroll down the show notes, you'll find a link to Ilse's website and also her social media. And you can also find our Instagram handle there too, as well as our email address. If you prefer to reach us via email, do drop us a line to hollowellstudios@gmail.com. If you're on Apple Podcasts, we'd love it if you'd leave a 5-star rating and review, because that improves our rankings and therefore helps others find the show. My thanks again to my guest this week, Ilse de Villiers, and to you for listening. I'll be back next week when my guest will be the American multimedia artist Sydney Swisher, so I do hope you'll join me then.